I am your friendly neighborhood J-Man. This is the Almost Internet Famous Internet Show, and today we are talking one of the hypiest hyped crossovers of the 1990s, right after the headlines.
And now, the aggregator of awesome, the curator of cool, my dad, your friendly neighborhood Jaman.
A veritable ton of promotional material finally hit the internets this week about Marvel's upcoming Ant-Man movie. From the ant-sized trailer released on the internets at the beginning of the week, to the cover of Entertainment Weekly, to a new movie poster, to the actual trailer itself. If I didn't know better, I'd say it was all carefully orchestrated. Anyway, the consensus about the movie seems to be, meh. Now look, it's too early to tell. The movie doesn't come out till July, but the reaction to the deluge of promotional materials has been one of complete and utter indifference. Even with the 2-minute teaser trailer debuting on Agent Carter, it just seems like Ant-Man is struggling to find an identity that goes back to at least when original director Edgar Wright left the project. But let's not judge too harshly, lest ye be judged. And speaking of Agent Carter, ABC's Agent Carter debuted this week with a 2-episode block. Per bleedingcool.com, the show debuted in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s time slot, down 10% from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s season premiere in the oh-so-important 18 to 49 male demographic, but up 12% from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s mid-season finale. What's all that mean? Fuck if I know. I'm not what you call a man of numbers. More importantly, though, is it me or did Haley Atwell look different from when she appeared in the first Avenger to Agent Carter? Not that it matters. She kept my attention. Terrible. I know. Netflix did some Marvel announcing of its own this week by releasing a spiffy new Daredevil poster and revealing the show's premiere date. Initially speculated to be in May of 2015, Netflix announced it's releasing all 13 episodes of The Man Without Fear on April 10th. Okay, look, I'm going to watch the show, but I'm not going to binge watch. I don't know how you folks sit and watch episode after episode. I can barely sit still for a 2-hour movie, let alone multiple episodes of TV shows. And who wants to watch all those episodes at once anyway? Isn't there something to be said about taking some time off? Having some time in between episodes to absorb what you've just taken in, instead of forcing show after show into your subconscious like a person single-handedly consuming a platter of homemade cookies this past Christmas that was really meant for like 15 to 20 people? But, you know, don't judge lest ye be judged, blah, blah, blah. BleedingCool.com also reported some definitely spoilerish info about the upcoming Batman Arkham Knight video game. I'm telling you right now, this is some seriously spoilerific stuff. So if you don't want to know, then just scroll ahead a few bars. Don't worry, I'll be here on the other side. Go ahead, it's okay. Now, for the rest of us non-gamers, here's the deal. Amazon.com posted a picture of its exclusive package for the Arkham Knight video game. The package includes a steel bookcase, an art book, a comic book, and a statue of the Dark Knight himself. It's what's engraved on the statue that's causing all the hullabaloo. Yes, I just said hullabaloo. The inscription on the statue reads, "From a grateful city in memory of the Gotham Knight." Sounds like someone might be pushing up daisies at the end of a certain video game. Amazon has since pulled the picture off its site. Could be a red herring, could not be. Alls I know is I give a ton of credit to the eagle-eye folks who live on the internet. I can walk by the same pair of socks on the floor for months without seeing them, let alone take notice to a barely legible inscription on a statue from a picture on a web page. And finally, there's a new Power Girl. Actually, she's been around for a bit now, debuting in August 2014's World Finest number 26. But Tanya Spears is joining the depressingly awful Teen Titans in February's issue. I say depressingly awful because I grew up on Marv Wolfman and George Perez's stellar new Teen Titans, and this current book is just a sad comparison. Regardless, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking,
What of Karen Starr? What of the original Power Girl? What about the boom window?
boobs. I don't think we have too much to worry about, folks. Karen Starr has been blown back to Earth 2, where she hails from, now in the New 52. We may have come a long way, baby, but that boob window ain't going nowhere anytime soon. Boobs. We'll be right back. Boobs.
You can make them fly or jump or crash or walk. Superhero action figures over 7 inches tall.
Each sold separately.
Superman, Batman, Incredible Hulk. You can make them do their thing. Even make Spider-Man slide down a string. Lots of action for one and all. Action figures over 7 inches tall.
These superhero action figures each sold separately. Batman, Superman, Incredible Hulk, and Spider-Man. Each sold separately. By Mego.
You know, I talk a lot of toys on the show. In fact, I'm pretty sure that every episode so far this season has been about toys. But I'm no one-trick pony. Oh no! My power alley is deep and wide. And to prove it as such, we're going to branch out and go in a completely different direction on today's show. We're going to talk comics. Okay, maybe it's not a completely different direction, but I am an admitted exaggerator. Either way, we're going to look today at an historical moment that brought about together two opposing forces, a moment that once and for all would settle the ultimate pop culture debate. No, I'm not talking about whether Joni really loved Chachi. I'm talking about the age-old question, who is better, DC or Marvel? I'm talking about the 1996 miniseries, DC vs. Marvel. The miniseries was a joint venture between the two powerhouse publishers, devised in a secret meeting by writers Ron Marz, Peter David, then DC editor Mike Harlan, and the late Marvel editor Mark Gruenwald. The premise of DC vs. Marvel was to settle once and for all whose roster of heroes was the best, and of course, to make a shit ton of money in the process. The mega-sized crossover was ominously foreshadowed in 1995's one-shot Green Lantern vs. Silver Surfer Unholy Alliances. That was written by Ron Marz, edited by Mark Gruenwald, and published in December of '95. Unholy Alliances focused on Silver Surfer and then Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, teaming up to stop Thanos and Parallax from destroying their respective universes. At the end of the story, as Green Lantern is flying off into the sunset, in an alleyway somewhere in New York, a large cardboard box starts emitting light. Foreshadowing aside, what exactly did comic fans get that cold winter of '96? Well, DC vs. Marvel, as the first and final issues were known as, was a 4-issue miniseries. Those 4 mentioned issues were published by DC. Issues 2 and 3 were titled Marvel vs. DC, and they were published by Marvel. The miniseries was jointly written by Marz and David and drawn by Dan Jurgens and Claudio Castellini. The story pits two celestial brothers, one representing DC, the other brother representing Marvel, formerly unaware of each other for eons, suddenly becoming very annoyed at each other's presence. And as with all sibling rivalries, only one brother could exist, so a deal was struck. Taking a cue from the old Battle of the Network Stars, the Celestial Brothers decided the super beings of each universe would duke it out. The universe with the most wins would continue to exist. The loser would vanish forever. And thusly, the battles began. A total of 11 matches were decided upon. The first 6, the undercard if you will, took place over the second and third issues of the miniseries. Those battles consisted of Aquaman vs. Namor, Elektra vs. Catwoman, Flash vs. Quicksilver, Robin vs. Jubilee, Silver Surfer vs. Green Lantern again, and Thor vs. Captain Marvel, or Shazam as you might know him. The outcomes were determined ahead of time by Marz and David, and the victories were split even between DC and Marvel, with Aquaman beating Namor, Elektra topping Catwoman, Flash triumphing over Quicksilver, Robin mounting Jubilee, Silver Surfer crushing Kyle Rayner, and last, thankfully, because I'm running out of synonyms, Thor destroyed Captain Marvel. That left 5 matches, the main card to be decided in issue 3. As a twist though, those battles were to be decided by fan vote. Fanboys and fangirls alike could cast their ballots for their winners by way of mail by dropping off their ballot at their Versus voting headquarters or email their votes via this technology called the internet. Whatever the hell that is. Remember, this is the mid-90s. The matches to be voted on were Batman vs. Captain America, Spider-Man vs. Superboy, Wolverine vs. Lobo, Storm vs. Wonder Woman, and the main one, Superman vs. Hulk. The decision came out 3-2. Batman topping Cap, Spider-Man handing it to Superboy, Wolverine pulverizing Lobo, Storm bitch-slapping Wonder Woman, and Superman taking down the Green Giant. Marvel had unofficially won. To save a little face and make a shit ton more money, the warring Celestial Brothers saved the losing DC universe by combining both universes at the conclusion of issue 3. And thus, the Amalgam Universe was born. For 1 week in the spring of 1996, DC and Marvel ceased to exist, and in their place, Amalgam Comics published 12 books. Those books were Amazon, Assassins, Doctor Strange Fate, JLX, Legends of the Darkclaw, Super Soldier, Bruce Wayne, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Bullets and Bracelets, Magneto and the Magnetic Men, Speed Demon, Spider-Boy, and X-Patrol. In actuality, DC published 6 of those books and Marvel published the other 6. That unprecedented week. All good things must come to an end. And because I am running a bit too long here, let's wrap this whole thing up by saying Batman saves the day at the end of issue 4. Of course he does. He's Batman.
I'm Batman.
Well, he does have a little help from Captain America and the hero created for the miniseries Access. But still, he's Batman.
I'm Batman.
The universes, once torn asunder, now stood before one another, celestial brother to celestial brother, proclaiming the other had done well, and they all lived happily ever after. So, in the pantheon of must-read comics, where exactly does DC vs. Marvel stand? Somewhere? Is it worth the read at all? Yes, absolutely. The nostalgia effect alone is worth it, especially if you're into 90s comics, because these books are the epitome of that era. From Ben Reilly being Spider-Man to Superman's mullet, it's all in there, not to mention another female to wield Mjolnir well before our current female Thor. That's right, Wonder Woman's worthy enough to wield Mjolnir, but can't beat Storm? Please! And as for the rest of the battles, well, they're pretty predictable. I would have liked to have maybe seen different ones, like Nightwing, who's very absent from the tale versus Spider-Man, or Green Arrow versus Hawkeye, that's pretty obvious, or how about this one, Lex Luthor versus Iron Man, egotistical billionaire versus egotistical billionaire. Don't forget, Lex has some pretty nifty armor of his own. In the end, DC vs. Marvel is a little light in story, and almost 20 years later, it's real easy to look cynically back on the miniseries. Yeah, it may have been a glorified popularity contest, but it still was unprecedented. It's the creation of the Amalgam Universe that makes the whole event worthwhile, along with the original 12 comics that were born out of DC vs. Marvel after issue 3. The Amalgam Universe was popular enough with the fans to be revisited a year later with an additional 12 issues, co-published by DC and Marvel. I may be a bit biased here, considering I am a big fan of Elseworlds and What If stories, but the Amalgam Universe was the shit. To this day, I still got my fingers crossed someone will produce a Darkclaw or Spider-Boy action figure. Fingers crossed! But I'm not holding my breath. And that's all the time we have for today's show. I'd like to thank myself for putting all this shit together. Do yourself a solid and click right, pow, here to watch the uncensored director's cut of this very show. And after you've gone and done that, check me out on all your favorite social media. I'm on the Twitter, I'm on the Facebook, and I'm even on the Google+. All you gotta do is search. You can also check me out every Monday on the Fanboy Factor podcast at fanboyfactor.com. One last plug, yfnjman.com. That's my website where we have lots of goodies, pie, cookies, and all that other nonsense. Until next time, remember one thing. Mama say, mama sa, ma mama sa. Mama say, mama sa, ma mama sa. Mama say, mama sa, ma mama sa. Those battles were to be decided by fan vote. Fuck! Damn it! Vote!